Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm NELP's Government Affairs Director. I'm very happy that you're all here, and we've been working hard to try to get as good a package as possible out of Congress with each of these bills. And as Michelle noted, we're going to continue working on the forthcoming ones. I'm going to talk briefly just about a few of the programs that are in the CARES Act. The biggest expansion is something called pandemic unemployment assistance, and that's the one that really will apply more to like gig workers and self-employed workers. That's going to come right after this, so be ready for that. But the things that I want to go through, first of all, are pandemic unemployment compensation, pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, which is 13 more weeks of state UI benefits. As you all know, workers generally receive 26 weeks of state UI benefits when they are eligible. There are 8 states that do have less than 26 weeks, unfortunately, and that's one of the things we want to improve in federal legislation. But for those workers in the state who receive UI and run out of benefits, whether it's 12 weeks, 20 weeks, or 26 weeks, they will get 13 more weeks of UI benefits at the same benefit level as their state UI, and it's available through the end of this calendar year. In addition to the PEUC program, there's also pandemic unemployment compensation. This is the added $600 a week for all of those on state UI, PUA, short-time compensation. Basically, if you're receiving any sort of benefit, even if it's as little as $1 a week, you are eligible for an additional $600 a week in benefits. And the $600 a week is basically designed to try to make the average worker whole. As Michelle said, there's only so much that UI replaces, and especially in some states, the deep southern states often have very, very low benefit levels and a maximum of only about $250, $300 a week. The extra $600 is supposed to make workers whole. So that is available to everybody who gets regular state UI, PEUC, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that you'll hear about shortly, and anybody getting short-time compensation, or what's also called work sharing. And in the CARES Act, states are also going to be reimbursed 100% for short-time compensation programs already enacted, and 50% for new programs that are adopted by state policy. And we're really encouraging states that don't have short-time compensation programs to adopt them. What these do is generally when an employer, for example, has to cut their payroll by about 40%, rather than laying off workers that make up 40% of payroll, they will do a 40% reduction across the board of all of their workforce. And then the workers will get 60% of their salary. They'll continue their benefits that they are provided, and they can go collect unemployment for that 40% that they're missing, that 40% of their weekly unemployment benefit. So we're really pushing states to take up those programs. And there's also money in the CARES Act that would provide states with grants to improve and promote these programs as well. Our big federal UI priorities coming up in the next legislation, we want to provide the states with $30 to $40 billion in UI admin grants and IT grants. We all know the horror stories about how hard it is for the states to reprogram their computers and get these programs up and running and get the money out to workers. We knew this problem was going to happen. It happened during the Great Recession, and we've really done nothing to correct it since then. So now is the time for a major multi-year grant that will make sure that states can get these programs better up and running in the future during times of crisis. We also need to fix the extended benefits program. This is a permanent extended UI program that is authorized by federal law, but unfortunately it takes too long to trigger on, and it doesn't react as nimbly as it should in order to deal with times where there's all of a sudden a big uptick in unemployment. We believe that we need to now enact extra tiers of UI and PUA benefits, and they need to be based on economic indicator triggers. They don't start on a certain date and end on a certain date. They start when unemployment reaches certain levels, and they end when unemployment comes below those levels again. We also want to continue the $600 weekly increase. And again, that should have economic or health indicator triggers. We want to require that all states must do short-time compensation programs. They all must have work-sharing programs. And states are going to run out of money in their trust funds, and they're going to need to take loans like they did in the Great Recession. And we want to have loan relief for states that have acted responsibly, that have good taxable wage bases, that are collecting enough, and that have good programs that really serve workers, and that don't instead, they aren't built like Florida's, for example, it has literally been built to discourage workers from applying and make sure that recipiency is low. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Brian, now.